She posts this as the caption. Brandy says this, "Hey, beauty." And then she puts a bunch of heart emojis. She says, "Perhaps we've been looking for it in all the wrong places. In youth, in perfection, in approval, in bodies that never change and faces that never age. But life was never meant to leave us untouched. It shapes us, it humbles us, it refines us. Every season leaves its signature upon us. And maybe that's where the beauty has been all along, not in escaping change, but in becoming through it. I've learned that it takes only a moment to form an opinion about someone's appearance and a lifetime to understand what they've lived through."
Something changed. Not overnight. Not in a single photograph. But slowly. One appearance. One emotional message. And suddenly, the internet stopped talking about Brandy's music and started talking about her face, her weight, her health. Fans were divided. Some believed they were simply watching a woman growing through another chapter of life. Others weren't so sure. Within hours, old Hollywood stories began resurfacing. Whitney Houston, Clive Davis, the pressure of fame, the cost of surviving an industry that has consumed some of its biggest stars. None of the online theories connecting these events have been independently verified, and Brandy has never publicly blamed anyone for her health. But after Brandy finally shared an emotional message about judgment, hidden pain, and battles people never see, one question refused to disappear. Was the world looking at her dramatic weight loss, while completely missing the real story behind it?
Brandy is breaking her silence after there's been much speculation about her appearance over the last week at Essence Festival and her recent honoring in her hometown of Macomb, Mississippi.
Here we go now. Here we go.
The conversation didn't begin with a medical report. It began with a photograph. Just days after Brandy appeared at Essence Festival and returned home to Macomb, Mississippi for a special hometown honor, social media suddenly shifted its focus. Instead of celebrating her legacy, thousands of comments centered on one thing, her appearance. Fans noticed the dramatic weight loss. Some expressed genuine concern. Others rushed to make assumptions before knowing the full story. Within hours, the discussion spread across entertainment pages, reaction channels, and fan communities. Some viewers believed Brandy was simply going through a personal transformation. Others wondered whether years of pressure inside the entertainment industry had finally taken their toll. As more opinions flooded the internet, older Hollywood conversations also began resurfacing. Those online theories remain unverified, and Brandy has not publicly linked her health to any of them. But while the internet debated, Brandy chose a different response. Instead of arguing, instead of defending herself, she shared a deeply personal message about judgment, compassion, and the hidden battles people carry every day.
Brandy continues in her caption. She says, "If this post leaves you with anything, I hope it's this. Before you speak about someone's body, before you speak about someone's face, before you decide who they are by what you see, remember you are looking at someone's child, someone's friend, someone's dream, someone's life, a soul. And souls have always been more beautiful than surfaces. Love, Bran." So this message, I'm glad she addressed it. She didn't have to, though. And that's something important to know. As I said before, I've seen so many people in the comments section making comments about Brandy, but then other people saying, have we not learned anything from the situation with Chadwick Boseman? I remember it was a few months ago, maybe like a couple of years ago, actually, when Ariana Grande had to come out and address all the comments about her extreme weight loss.
After that message, the tone of the conversation began to change. Many fans stopped asking what Brandy looked like and started asking what she might be going through. Others pointed out that celebrities have repeatedly faced harsh public judgment over their appearance before the truth was ever known. One emotional post had transformed a conversation about weight into a much larger discussion about empathy, privacy, and the unseen cost of living under constant public attention. And that was only the beginning. Long before the recent headlines. Long before fans began asking questions about Brandy's appearance. There was another chapter of her story that many people still remember. It wasn't built on controversy. It was built on admiration. For years, Whitney Houston wasn't just another music icon in Brandy's life. She was someone Brandy openly described as a mentor, an inspiration, and one of the biggest reasons she believed she could dream beyond limits. Their public appearances, performances, and interviews reflected a relationship that fans admired for decades. After Clive Davis' death, Brandy leaks what that note said.
Whitney Houston. Now, I knew you had a connection to her, but I didn't realize, and you write in the book, that shortly before her death, you had a lengthy phone call with her.
I did.
What was that call?
it mattered so much to me because I got a chance to tell her everything I hadn't told her, just how much she inspired me, how much I loved her, her impact in my life. And yeah, it was an emotional conversation. I didn't know it was going to be my last time speaking to her.
That interview would later take on an entirely different meaning. After Whitney Houston's passing, many fans revisited moments like these, seeing them through a much more emotional lens. The fact that Brandy described their final conversation as deeply personal only strengthened the emotional connection people associated with them. As the years passed, Whitney's tragic death continued to generate documentaries, books, interviews, and endless online discussions. Some internet users revisited old Hollywood stories involving powerful industry figures, while others argued that many of those theories were built on speculation rather than evidence. Those claims have never been independently verified, and Brandy herself has never publicly endorsed or repeated them. Even so, every time Brandy's name returns to the headlines, the internet seems to revisit the same unanswered questions from that era. Some fans believe the renewed attention simply reflects how deeply Whitney's legacy still resonates. Others think social media has a tendency to connect unrelated events whenever a familiar name trends again. Whatever the reason, one thing is difficult to ignore. Brandy's recent emotional message wasn't just interpreted as a response to comments about her appearance. For many viewers, it reopened conversations about grief, the hidden cost of fame, and the emotional weight that artists sometimes carry long after the cameras stop rolling. Whether those conversations reveal truth or simply reflect the internet's search for answers, they continue to shape how Brandy's story is being viewed today. And as those discussions grew louder, another familiar Hollywood name inevitably found its way back into the conversation. The conversation didn't stop with Brandy's emotional message. It only became louder. Within hours, social media transformed into a courtroom of opinions. Entertainment blogs, reaction channels, and fan pages all began asking the same question. What really happened to Brandy? Some believed the answer was simple. Stress. Age. Years of living under constant public pressure. Others weren't convinced. Instead, they began revisiting one of the most talked about chapters in music history. Whitney Houston. Her final years. Her relationship with the people around her. And the names that have appeared in public conversations for decades. One of those names was Clive Davis. For years, Clive Davis has been recognized as one of the music industry's most influential executives, helping launch and shape the careers of countless artists. Because of that role, his name frequently appears in documentaries, interviews, biographies, and online discussions about major moments in music history.
Every time I see Whitney, I lose it because she is definitely the greatest teacher, the greatest voice of all time. And just to have her support just here today is amazing because she's been doing this longer than we have. 30 years this year. Yeah, 30 years this year. Yeah, so just to have her support and her love, she's just like an auntie, like a big sister, you know, and it just felt good to have her advice and everything that she gives and brings to the table here today was great.
So many don't know how loving she was.
That interview reminds viewers of the admiration Brandy openly expressed for Whitney Houston and the respect she had for experienced figures in the music industry during that period. But after Whitney's tragic passing, public conversations changed. Over the years, countless videos, podcasts, and social media posts have revisited those events. Some users have questioned how the industry treated its biggest stars. Others have debated whether intense pressure, fame, and personal struggles played a larger role than many people realized. Those online claims remain unverified, and there is no confirmed evidence linking Brandy's current health or weight loss to those discussions. Even so, every time Brandy trends online, the same conversations seem to return. Some fans argue that this isn't about conspiracy. It's about pressure. The pressure to stay perfect. The pressure to never age. The pressure to always smile, even when no one knows what's happening behind the scenes. Then another interview resurfaced, one that many fans remembered for a completely different reason.
I was actually in the same hotel that she passed in.
At the Beverly Hilton.
Yes, and we were all getting ready for the Clive the Grammy party, yes. And I was in my room getting ready. But the strange thing is right before I started to get ready, there was this guy and a paramedics guy in the elevator. And they were like, hurry up, she's not breathing. And later on to find out they were talking about Whitney.
For many viewers, that moment wasn't about proving any theory. It was a reminder of how close Brandy was to one of the most heartbreaking moments in modern music history. Being in the same hotel, hearing the emergency unfold, and later learning what had happened. Those memories have remained part of Brandy's public story for years. As those clips spread again, reactions became even more divided. Some viewers urged people to stop connecting unrelated events. Others argued that every time a major celebrity faces visible changes, the internet immediately searches for hidden explanations instead of accepting that life itself can leave lasting marks. Meanwhile, Brandy's own message pointed in a different direction. Not toward blame, not toward accusations, but toward compassion. Toward the idea that people often judge what they can see, without knowing what someone may be carrying emotionally, mentally, or physically. Perhaps that's why her post resonated with so many people. It wasn't because she answered every question. It was because she reminded everyone that not every battle is visible. And sometimes, the loudest stories on the internet are built around the quietest moments in someone's life. As the debate continued to grow, one thing became increasingly clear. The conversation had stopped being only about Brandy's weight. It had become a much bigger discussion about fame, privacy, public expectations, and the emotional cost of spending decades in front of millions of people. Whether the internet eventually finds the answers it is searching for, or whether some questions remain unanswered forever, only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Brandy's emotional message has reopened a conversation that extends far beyond a single photograph. And as fans continue searching for explanations, many are also beginning to ask a different question. Have we become too quick to judge before we understand the full story? Sometimes, the biggest battle isn't happening on stage. It's happening long after the spotlight fades. For years, Brandy has lived under a microscope. Every performance, every interview, every photograph has been analyzed by millions of people. And this time, it wasn't a new song or an award that captured the headlines. It was her appearance, her weight, her face, her silence. As the conversation grew louder, many fans began asking whether people had forgotten a painful lesson from the past. Time and again, celebrities have been judged by how they looked, only for the public to later discover that they had been carrying deeply personal struggles that no one could see. For Brandy, the discussion seemed to become much bigger than a number on a scale. It became a conversation about identity, about pressure, about living up to an image that the world expects you to maintain forever.
I understand what that feels like. I don't understand to that degree, but I understand, because I feel like when I don't have my instrument, I don't really have me.
It is what you're about.
Yes, it's almost who you are, Of course, there's more to you than your voice, but that's what you use to share.
Those words reflected something far deeper than a single interview. They reminded many fans that, for artists, their voice, their craft, and their public image often become inseparable from who they are. When that image changes, the public immediately starts asking questions, sometimes with compassion and sometimes with judgment. Brandy's own message appeared to push back against that mindset. Not with anger, not with blame, but with a quiet reminder that every person carries battles the world cannot always see. Many supporters praised her honesty, saying her words shifted the conversation away from appearance and toward empathy. Others admitted they had been too quick to assume they understood what she was going through. At the same time, online debates continued. Some users insisted there had to be a deeper explanation, while others argued that not every visible change needs a public answer. No verified evidence has linked Brandy's recent weight loss to the theories circulating online, and Brandy herself has not publicly endorsed those claims. In the end, perhaps the most heartbreaking part of this story isn't the speculation. It's the reminder that behind every headline, behind every trending photograph, and behind every viral comment, there is still a human being trying to live through moments the rest of the world can only guess at. And sometimes, that unseen weight can be far heavier than anything the camera ever captures. In Hollywood, sometimes the damage isn't measured by headlines. It's measured by perception. For weeks, Brandy's name was no longer being discussed because of a hit record or a legendary performance. Instead, the conversation became centered around a single photograph, a single appearance, and a single question that nobody seemed able to answer. For some fans, the constant speculation felt deeply unfair. They argued that one image had almost overshadowed a career built over decades. Others believed the public had every right to ask questions, but not to assume answers before hearing them from Brandy herself. As those debates continued, one thing became increasingly clear. Brandy didn't respond by attacking critics. She didn't accuse anyone. She simply reminded people that every face carries a story the world cannot always see. Grammy Award-winning singer and actress Brandy Norwood, from Mississippi roots to music, faith,
in my story and find their own courage so they can overcome the things in their life like I had to overcome in mine.
Oh, wow. As Brandy turns the page to a new
seemed to redefine the conversation. Instead of focusing only on weight, many supporters began focusing on resilience, on everything Brandy had survived throughout her career, on the pressure of growing up in front of cameras, and on the reality that even global stars are still human beings behind the headlines. Perhaps that is the biggest consequence of this entire story. Not the rumors. Not the endless online theories. But the way one viral moment can reshape public perception almost overnight. Today, Brandy's weight loss remains a topic of discussion, yet the exact reason behind it has not been publicly confirmed. What has been confirmed is her message: choose compassion before judgment. Because in an industry where appearances are constantly examined, sometimes protecting your peace becomes the bravest statement of all. Maybe the biggest mystery was never Brandy's weight loss. Maybe it was the speed with which the world decided it already knew the answer. One emotional post. One viral photograph. And suddenly, decades of memories, interviews, and old Hollywood conversations came rushing back into the spotlight. Some questions found answers. Many never did. And perhaps, some never will. Because behind every celebrity headline is a story that cameras don't capture. A chapter the public never gets to read. And a silence that often speaks louder than any interview ever could. So now we leave the question with you. Are fans simply concerned about Brandy's health, or has the internet started connecting dots that don't actually belong together? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoy deep, cinematic Hollywood documentaries that separate confirmed facts from public speculation, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this story may have reached today's ending. But the conversation around Brandy, and the questions surrounding one of Hollywood's most talked about eras, may be far from over.